Okay, excellent. Well, as we get started here, just want to say I hope you guys are all doing well, and it's quite a time for everyone, and kind of thank God for music. I'm pretty grateful for it myself, and so thanks for joining, and I hope you're all well and safe in your homes and practicing the suggested guidelines to keep us all healthy and safe. And what else can I tell you? Start out with, I say it up in the comments. In the introduction to the live feed. But I'm not looking at this as much as a performance as a kind of relaxed little music making session, which is perhaps the way it should be, even if I'm performing. But we all know, or those of you who are musicians probably are aware of the kind of tightening up and stress that can happen, with performance, and the thought that, wow, when I was at home, I played that a lot better on my own. So hey, Andy, and so this is my first time doing this, so forgive me for any missteps and so forth. But I'll play a little music for you, and then we can hang. We can, if you have any requests or whatever you want to ask questions about how I work on music or how I think about music or anything like that, be happy to answer whatever I can. So yeah, I'm gonna play a little music, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope the sound is good. Jesse, my tech guy, is telling me it's all good, so play a little something. So that was a crazy derangement that I I wrote a while back on Stella by Starlight, where I take the melody and every two measures I go up a half step. So instead of it's it's a little game that I sometimes play. I do it on a couple other songs, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm gonna see if Jesse has any comments for me, or if we're all good. Seems like we're all good. So let's see. I had a few songs in mind that I thought I might play. How about some Sonny Rollins? I had the chance to work with Sonny when I was in my 20s, and it was quite an incredible experience for me. Obviously a huge hero. I mean, I even tried picking up a tenor saxophone. At one point, it was rather amusing. Luckily, there wasn't any record of it. But I borrowed a tenor saxophone from my friend John Gordon, great alto saxophone player, and so anyway, just a huge thrill to get the chance to play with someone like that, such an incredible force and improviser. So anyway, here's a little St. Thomas. Thomas. um, this is a different experience for me. I feel more nervous than playing on a stage all of a sudden. But thank you guys for joining. And I can't see all the comments. I'm sort of seeing them as they roll by. But what else? Well, again, of course, we're in these challenging times, and just thinking about everyone who's, like me, but then in perhaps more crowded situations. I just it's been actually a really great time to catch up with friends and loved ones, and just to share all this. We're all in this together, and I really thank everybody for reaching out to me. And I'm I tend to be a pretty solitary bird. So in some ways, this isn't a big lifestyle shift for me, except of course not being on the road and touring and stuff like that. But so it's been really great to connect with you all. So thank you for that. And I think hey Jonathan, it looks like I'm correctly flipped. This is my right hand and this is my left hand. I think we're all oriented correctly. So maybe rather than talking, I'll just play some music and we'll see what happens. Okay. Here's a Wayne Shorter song called Juju. I remember when I first heard that song, I was probably 16 years old or something, and I was in this part of my house, kind of near the outside, and somebody had given me, my good old friend Dave Santoro was a great bass player from Connecticut, who I came up playing with in the 90s and early 90s. And anyway, he gave me a cassette tape of that song, and I remember putting it on, and it was that, I believe it was Juju, it was that song from Wayne, and I sort of spontaneously burst into tears. It was so beautiful, and there's something about Wayne and his music that is so, and I'm sure all of you who love him will agree. There's just something so profound and otherworldly in a way to his music. Of course, it's sort of deeply, I guess, spiritual, you'd say, but that doesn't even quite capture it for me. But anyway, it's kind of got everything. So always wishing Wayne well, and I understand he's working on a big piece with Esperanza Spalding. So anyway, just a huge inspiration to me. Scott Colley's on here. Hey, Scott. Anyway, let's see if Jesse has any comments for me. I'm only seeing the smallest little... oh yeah, there's all kinds of things going on. Somebody asked me, is that a whole tone scale? That is indeed a whole tone scale sound. That is kind of the core. Thanks for asking that, David. That's the core, kind of the core of that song. And one of the things I enjoy, Scott, who's on the line, will attest. Although I hope I don't step on his bass playing toes when I do it, but I know he loves to do it. Also, is to select different bass notes out of the scale of whatever we're playing to create a whole other environment. And so this is a perfect opportunity to do something like this on this song. In fact, I use some of it as some different bass notes on this one at the kind of release, where typically it's a B flat. And I use the 4 whole tones up, the tritone, so it sounds more like... So instead of B flat, I'm playing E to E flat, and then I change the harmony there a little bit. Just something I'm playing around with. So getting in to the scales of these songs, and when I teach, I talk a lot about this harmony being more horizontal. For me, rather than a vertical, stacked in thirds kind of thing. It's more that, a full scale, and then all of that feeds into the harmony rather than so it's more horizontal. So that's the way I kind of think about it. Somebody asked if I could play Deluge. I'd have to remember that. Let me think about that. I thought about playing maybe Footprints or something, but anyway, I'll play something else. I'll play an original of mine. If you guys will indulge me, and hope you are into it. This is actually a vocal song. I don't know how the mic is gonna do picking up my voice. Oh, cool. I'll take a look at. There's apparently some questions coming in, but maybe first I'll play this song. This is maybe appropriate to the time, and I hope maybe if it's okay with you guys, I'll shift this a little bit. Whatever. I'm gonna sing a little bit, so hopefully you'll hear what I'm doing. This is a spring song. I recorded this actually with Steve Gadd and his band not long ago, and it was really cool how that came out. I was really pleased and happy he asked me to do it. So this is that song, Spring Song. In our life and time, there will be sorrow. No reason or rhyme as the days come and go. All we have is now, and where our hearts lie. Our feet that touch the ground, and our heads in the sky. Face to the sun, shines bright through the winter, into the darkness, and on into spring. All our means and ends, there will be tears shed. And all of the king's men can't mend his head. And this must be so. When our lives are through, what will our eyes say? Can I get through to you every day? I love you so. that's Spring Song. Hey, Sullivan Fortner, one of my favorite piano players. Fantastic, man. Thanks for stopping in. And let's see. Oh, there was a question or two from Jesse's text here. Small tips for left-hand comping. Oh, man. There's a topic, left-hand comping. Well, the first thing I might say is, as just a general rule to start, and this is obviously rules are made to be broken, but don't play the left hand when the right hand's playing, for starters. And so the idea for me is, it's kind of like my left hand and my right hand, though the other side of this is learning to play together with both hands in a fluid way, so that they're not so relegated to left and right. But the idea is, to leave that space. And when, for me, of course, the melodies tend to be played in the upper part of the piano, right? When I'm soloing with my right hand, I like to let that lead, sort of like if I'm comping for a horn player or a singer, if I'm accompanying them. Because in a way, I don't want the left hand to interrupt the flow, especially kind of imposing. It sounds funny because my left hand is attached to my body, but so you would think that my left hand would know what my right hand is doing and anticipate that. But the idea is that if I'm playing, improvising the way I really want to play, which is pretty much starting from nothing and kind of stream of consciousness, I don't want the left hand with its sort of knowledge of harmony and its old ideas of voicings and things like that, kind of get in my way, just like I wouldn't want to get in the way of a soloist. So that's always a challenge. So it's similar. In fact, I have a little story that's kind of fun about this. I had the opportunity to play with Joe Henderson a few times in the 90s, and we were over in Europe on tour, and besides turning to me at one point and telling me how hungry he was because we hadn't had anything to eat in several hours, was that it was during a bass solo. Our dear friend Dwayne Burno, who passed a number of years ago, was there on the gig, and he was soloing, and Joe kind of whispered in my ear, "If you could comp for me the way you comp for yourself." So I guess he liked how I was comping for myself, mainly leaving space was the idea. So I think, and at the time I was a little sort of spooked and didn't know how to do that, because at the end of the day, my left hand does know what my right hand is doing. And, Joe Henderson didn't kind of need harmony anyway. He was so thorough and complete, as he might say, he could spell. So what do I want to say more about that? So the idea of listening and responding to my right hand, almost as if it is just a kind of another person, and having that kind of thing, and certainly for me, in terms of having the kind of flexibility that I want to have, as I mentioned, melodically and harmonically in my right hand, I often will play the left hand will be a response to the right hand, rather than the left hand playing something and then that sort of dictating and suggesting something with the right hand, if that makes sense. So I'm really letting the melody in the right hand, if you will, if that's all I'm playing the melodies in. You know, oftentimes, you know, I'll play both. I'll make melodies with both hands, just because it extends this. You know, so sometimes I'll start a line with my left hand. So so my left hand could kind of get, if we're anthropomorphize my hand again, my left hand can get his harmony in, his ideas in. He doesn't feel so left out, if that makes any sense at all. Hey, Joey, man, great to see you, man. Joey Calderazzo, Orlando Fleming, some of my favorite musicians. Thanks for hanging out. I hope that answers the question. Let's see here. Oh, maybe one more thing about that. So I have this idea around creating voicings, chord voicings, which is basically the arrangement of the scale tones. Again, rather thinking about things more horizontally rather than vertically. Oh, Joey's playing golf. That's fantastic. Let's see. The idea that if my right hand is already playing something melodically, I try to steer clear of that with my left hand in terms of the voicing. With only 10 fingers, and you're only going to use maybe 7 or 8 at the most, and that's a deep chord right there. I try not to repeat any notes. I'm trying not to be redundant in the notes that I'm choosing. No sense wasting fingers and your ears also. So really trying to keep economy and clarity so that I'm not doubling things unnecessarily. So there you go. We have, let's see. Oh man, a request for Don't Rise, Scott. Man, let me see. Maybe Scott can send me a chart on that. That's a cool song. Let's see. Maybe I'll play some more. I'll play something. That's a song of mine called Elegia, and I wrote that a number of years ago. Actually, that was an exercise that I was challenged with. That a friend of mine from Santa Fe, New Mexico, that where I used to live back in the early 2000s, asked me to write a song and just set a timer and write a song in an hour. And I just took him up on it. And though after the fact there was some shifting around of keys and things like that, the basic structure was there. And I was sort of surprised that that could be done. And I think I have a friend who says a task expands with the time allotted to it, and I suppose contracts. That's the idea, contracts as well. So things can be done by a deadline, I found out. So let's see, how we doing here? Jesse, any questions? We've got, yeah, that's good. So I thought I might play a couple more things, and then we can all enjoy our afternoons and evenings. Hopefully, made a little easier and a little brighter with some music. So I want to thank you guys. Before I omit it, and I put it in the description, absolutely zero obligation whatsoever. This is music for the taking, but if you want to make a little donation, I guess it's kind of, they used to have these old rent parties. Anyway, you can do that. The PayPal, Venmo addresses are up in the description. So no more commercials. Absolutely no pressure there, obviously. But here's a little, let's see. I was going to do a little music here. I love this Bob Dylan song. And many others, but what I want to say about that. I recently moved to Woodstock, New York, which is where I'm broadcasting from here, and I understand he used to live up here. Sometimes you see pictures of him poking through some weeds and making a funny face or whatever. But anyway, I'm a huge Dylan fan, and this is a very well-known song. I guess was it Adele? I think did this. But I like Bob's version, and I like Adele's version too. This is the "Make You Feel My Love." When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, and there is no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you ain't made up your mind yet, I would never do you wrong. I knew it from the moment out in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue. I'd go crawling down the avenue. There is nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. Storms are raging on a rolling sea, and on that highway of regret, winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I can make you happy, make your dreams come true. There is nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you, to make you feel my love. Make you feel my love. Bob Dylan. And let's see. What else we got? Jesse, any more questions you can pop up? Anyone? Oh, a request, the discussion from my brother. My actual brother. He's asking about my philosophy about dynamics. I don't know if I have a philosophy, but I think that they're a good thing. Yeah, dynamics, variations of soft and loud, I think he means, and within phrases, I've spent a bit of time working on that, I guess, over the years, especially when I was sort of younger and developing. My favorite players, they were always kind of mimicking the voice, the human voice. So, and as a piano player, you have to approximate that with your touch, right? And so it's at one point I realized, oh well, when singers sing, they tend to, not all the time, and especially the more skilled ones can manage to get softer as they go higher, but generally there's sort of more breath coming out and they're getting louder. So this idea of really shaping a line, and I learned a lot of this from my teacher, my classical, she was a classical pianist and teacher by the name of Eleanor Hancock, who was from the Taubman school. Dorothy Taubman was a pedagogue who developed a technique. Primarily, a lot of it was for injured pianists, and I gratefully was not injured per se, but I wanted to learn how to play more efficiently. I was getting tired, and especially playing fast. So anyway, so Eleanor helped me a great deal with this, and she used to say things like, and she didn't know anything about jazz, really. Probably didn't even like it very much, though I think she was pretty open, but she would say, I would improvise for her, and she would ask, or she would say, oh, you could have made more of that, say that ending. A lot of it was endings, you want to end well. So if I were to play something and she would ask me to repeat it, and sometimes, because I'm improvising, it's hard to exactly repeat it. I sort of remember the general shape of it, but she would say, like something like, I would do that, and she would say, well, why don't you make more of that? So I would infer that she meant both timing and dynamics. So it might be, not that I repeated that exactly, but so the idea of giving it a curve, giving it a shape, so that it had this kind of human, less mechanical, less kind of, fingers dropping down on a keyboard kind of a thing, less typing style. But you can create a great deal of feeling, I guess, and bringing a kind of, you can create a lot of expression comes of that. Obviously, I mean, if you any great singer knows the power of dropping down, or horn player, or and then by extension any musician, but particularly the singer, knows that you can create such an intimacy with getting quiet and a closeness, and then then you have something to contrast your louder moments with, and then even within a single breath. So that's very important to me, not only in the individual phrasing, but when I'm leading, say, a trio, dynamics are very important to me. There's all kinds of things you can do. I don't, though it has its place in terms of just kind of grooving out, and obviously certain styles of music, maybe it's not appropriate to be changing gears every 3 seconds, if you're sort of in a bebop thing or whatever. But there's all these opportunities to drop down and then come back. The mind or the ear connected there tends to just kind of lose attention unless it comes down, and also leaving space. So that's my general philosophy on, if that's a philosophy. It's more like just a practice. Great question, Steve. There's a question from Sammy about my favorite classical composers. I am going through a pretty heavy Bach, I don't know if you'd call it a phase. I mean, I'm really just kind of diving in more deeply than I ever have, and I haven't played a ton of classical music, but I'm a big, I love it, and obviously Bach speaks on so many levels for me, to so many sort of parts of my musical being and my just things that I that I love to listen to. So particularly the individual voices, this idea of and the practice of this kind of multiplicity of voices simultaneously going on, and I've been exploring a bit in my sort of personal life and sort of, I guess you'd say, sort of psycho-spiritual development, the idea that of multiplicity, actually, not multiple personality disorder or anything like that, but just the idea that there's different parts of us that are always going on and active and interacting with each other, often unbeknownst to me. I might say, well, I'm talking to myself here, but I'm realizing through some of the work actually of a great psychologist by the name of Richard Schwartz. It's been really interesting, and I find musical equivalence to that, and certainly Bach is up there, with all his all the polyphony and those unique lines. So certainly Bach. Richard Strauss is a big one for me. 20th century composers: Arnold Schoenberg, Ernst Krenek, Brahms, Beethoven, Chopin. So it's sort of like the jazz tradition is sort of, it's hard to say who's my favorite piano player too, or jazz musician. But that gives you some idea. And let's see, I can't necessarily get to all of these, but maybe I'll play one more, and we can leave it at that for today. Really appreciate you guys coming out and or staying in, I guess it is, coming out virtually, and it's really been a great pleasure to hang with you guys. And anyway, I'll say my goodbyes in a few minutes. Okay. Jean-Pierre, where did you come from? I don't care. You fall from the sky, up to the ground. All I really know is I love that sound. Oh, now, Jean-Pierre, where did you come from? I don't care. You fall from the sky, come up to the ground. All I really know is I love that sound. All I really know is I love that sound. All I really know is I love that sound. All I really know is I love that sound. Miles Davis, Jean-Pierre, with some little lyrics that I threw on there. I had the chance to play right before things shut down in New York City. A couple weeks ago, I played 4 nights at Smoke Jazz Club on the Upper West Side, and we weren't sure if it was going to go on, and we were all sort of wondering if it made sense and so forth. But I was able to play with a couple of my real heroes, Ron Carter, the great bassist, and Al Foster, both who spent significant time with Miles Davis, and so just to have a chance, to play with those guys together and feel that incredible experience, and spirit. Just both of those guys, such unique, incredible voices, and for me. So it was a great honor. But we weren't sure we were going to be able to finish it up. In fact, Mr. Carter had to bow out, or being a bass player, bow out, I suppose, just for safety purposes. Felt that it was time after 3 nights, and we had great Orlando Fleming came in and played with us for that last night, which was pretty. It was a slow night. We thought about just letting it go and returning home, and before we even started that night, but we did it, and then everything kind of shut down as it should have. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging, and I hope to do more of these. I plan on doing more of these, and we'll be posting the video so you can. Orlando liked my pun. Yeah, again, thanks again. And if you want to donate, do a little, throw a few bucks in the hat or whatever. No pressure. Obviously, these are challenging times. No expectations there. I'm just really happy to have played for you guys. And somebody asked for an encore button. Where's the encore button? I'm being a poor example, by the way. I'm touching my face a bit, but I will say I've washed my hands. It's really important. I just listened to perhaps I'll post it later, a great YouTube conversation with a doctor in New York City about the importance of he's basically saying, really the only way this thing transfers, COVID-19, is by touching something and then touching your face. That is it. It's really not an airborne thing. I mean, I should probably not be going into this kind of stuff since I'm not a professional, but it came from a professional in New York City. So anyway, I'm gonna refrain. I'm gonna touch the piano, and I'll leave it at that. So I will play a little encore. I don't know what I'll play, but oh, Scott said he played along. How did you do that, Scott? We'll have to figure that out. And do that together live via video stream. Okay, I'll figure something out here.